Megan, it's a great thrill to have you here at Concordia, but especially on the FPA set. You just came off an incredible panel here. Well, let me get this right, government digital transformation. Now, I think that alone would shoot over a lot of our heads, but you guys really broke it down in there. Tell me really sort of the key takeaway points, if you would, from that summit.
Yeah, there's a couple of them. One of them is that, we have these beautiful services that come to our phones and stuff. Can we get the governments to be as good as some of the other services and apps that we enjoy? And yes, we can. The way to do that, interestingly, is to get some of the talent that makes that to rotate and serve the country. So we were able to do that. I served under President Obama. We brought over 500 Americans in who had built Amazon, Facebook, Google, Twitter to leave their company and come in and serve in a rotation, not forever, but be there. Much like in the medical area, a surgeon general might come, or a lawyer might rotate, or an operator. We have genius people, and everywhere in the world this is happening. We had people from Argentina, Kenya, Mexico, other places on the panel, which was terrific. So this is the beginning of digital, open, data-driven, collaborative government. One of the key takeaways is that the leadership overall has to add a seat for this person or this set of people, data scientists, CTOs and others. And if they do that, then the genius teams, these are harder problems government serves. We can really transform the digital services and make them better. We can also have a much stronger conversation around policy, regulation, just having all the people at the table. And the one that's close to my heart is, how do you help engage, use the internet for digital collaboration? And engage all of the talent in the world in different ways that people could do peer-to-peer learning. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you come at it from two places, really, both the public sector, as you mentioned, serving as the Chief Information Officer Technology Officer under Obama, which was quite impressive there, and I want to come back to that, but also in the private sector now, working with the company that you are co-founder of and CEO of, which is Shift7. A little bit of a play right there in the name of the company, yes? For those of us who hadn't realized immediately what F7 does.
Shift7, it means or shift to 7 billion colleagues, 7 oceans, 7 continents, 7 generations. If we included everyone in what they would like to work on and really have these power tools for everyone, we can fix a lot of things. A really cool example we have is here at the United Nations UNGA meetings. We're in our 5th year of something called the UN Solutions Summit. And so what we do is, using a simple web form, we put up on the web, in partnership with the Secretary General's office, the UN Local 2030 folks, our team Shift7, and the UN Foundation, and the Global Innovation Exchange, we post this web form, and we ask who's already working on our amazing agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals. And we get, in the beginning, first year we got about 800, this year we got 1,400 submissions from 141 countries in 3 weeks of genius things people are already doing to solve climate, gender equality, infrastructure, just beautiful stuff. Some are nonprofit, some are for-profit. But the key about them is they exist, they're working in some place. They're not an idea. And so a participatory open selection committee that volunteers from around the world, 30 and under is one group, and 30 and over, so youth one, looks through all of this and bubbles up really genius stuff. And then gender balanced, geo-balanced, topic balanced group of entrepreneurs take the stage here at the UN in the SDG Media Zone. So it'll be live streamed every day from 11 to 12, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll give you an example of one. There's a group from Malaysia. These women have created, they were worried about how much waste is trucked around. So they took all the food waste that might be in your hospital, your school, or whatever. They made a vat, a capability. You dump it in, and instead of that longer time to compost, in 24 hours you get soil because they worked on microbes and heating and the different technology there. In the first year, there was a group flying drones to plant 1 billion trees a year, so reforestation rapidly. There was a group teaching law in prison in Uganda. All the solution makers are from their countries. We have, talking about science education, we were talking about STEM. There's a wonderful science club, Club Ciencia, from Colombia, and this young man has 161 clubs in rural villages. A lot of times people don't get to, we learn to read and write, but we learn science, but we don't learn apprenticing in discovery, invention, and design. But you could, and so that's what's happening in these clubs. They're doing local challenges. I call it work on your hometown for your homework. really interesting to kids, fix the lake, get the sensors going, work on justice and data science. Now, there's real opportunities to engage young people in this, and this is one of the solution makers from the Solution Summit who's from Colombia. So there's 10 of them. Ghanaian from Ghana, the Bicycle Club, made mostly manufactured, more than half women. It's bamboo, it's sustainable, it's 40% the cost, and they're scaling, and every 10 they sell, they bring one to a young person with opportunity, so good stuff.
Well, it sounds like a part of what you're doing is also going back to why, in theory, the web was launched as an information source, but so much of the time we don't share this, we don't learn it, and of course, too often, I suppose the press emphasizes the negative rather than the positive. But it sounds like many of the solutions we need, especially for the 2030 agenda, are already out there, and you're just highlighting and sharing them.
Very much so, and we find the solution makers. So I think it's not just information, it's who is doing what, and can those people get connected with each other. There's one of the innovators for the 2019 is called Climate Smart Farms, Garden Pool. This is a group working in the Caribbean and in Arizona, and they're working on both desert and hurricane resistant farms. And so they have, this guy started with just a swimming pool and started doing solar and amazing things. He discovered ways to use much less water in team with lots of different collaborators. And an example, one of the large installations is in Puerto Rico. For $1 million, they were able to move into a hurricane-resistant building and build a farm facility. They're making $7 million a year now out of this stuff, using much less water, much higher production. So this exists. These genius people all over our planet are here. I got to work in Silicon Valley for a long time. We love them, and we hear a lot about them. We hear about, they get the treasure, they get the voice, they're doing these things, but they're innovators in, yes, and. There are innovators all over the world, right? So let's get to Latin America, let's get to Africa, let's get to all around the heartland of the US, let's get into other places all across Asia and find these genius innovators and lift them up, like kind of venture catalyze them. It takes a network to lift an entrepreneur, and that's what we do in the UN Solution Summit.
Well, let's look at that for a moment, because so often we think of, I think there's almost this misnomer, and there was for a long time even on the investment circuit, right? Of, yes, I could invest in terms of ethical stocks, but I'm probably not going to see the same rate of return. There's almost an extension in this too, right? Investing in our future is quite literally, how is this good business and why?
Yeah, this is excellent business. What I love about the SDG agenda is it's about the environment, economy, and social together. If you put the goals in, usually anybody who's solving one goal or two, they're really solving multiple ones if they're thinking well about our living planet and what we want, about each other and inclusion, solution making through inclusion. So it's been incredible. One of the groups in the Solution Summit that's a perfect example of this is called Women Texters. They're from Nigeria. This young woman went to India and saw all these cool programs helping rural people, especially women who are often left out of the economy, came home and started doing full coding boot camps and entrepreneurial programs for people in real rural places in Nigeria. We're seeing all this talent lift out of this, just expecting greatness, showing up with collaboration and making it happen. And so she's such a great example. How are we going to lift people out of poverty? Well, let someone like that run and support them, and she'll lift her whole community.
Well, what I love is, first of all, your enthusiasm and the joy of what you're doing is fantastic work, but there's a real love for it. And since we've been talking so much about the 17 SDGs and the 2030 agenda, I have to ask you, how close are we? It's 10 and a half years at this point. Are we going to make it? How are we tracking? What is your hope at this point?
I'm a card-carrying optimist. So we have an option right now. And the option is we can completely do this. We just have to start using these internet technologies and other ways that we're connected to find our doers, find the people who are solving things. One of the Solution Summit folks is working on gender-based violence in Lebanon with buses that are going around and providing facilities and communities and connections and working with people and changing mindset. And it's really working through theater and other programs. So genius people are all over the planet. Let's let them tell us what they got. Let's come up underneath and help them. And then for our young people, let's remember that our old way of doing things is apprentice journey mastery. So let's bring them through apprenticeship programs into solving problems that they're very passionate about, and use the tools, whether they're tech tools or art tools or social science tools, and mentorship from those who've gone before. If we get the surface area of more of us able to bring what we would bring on solving these problems, we really can address this agenda. We can use data. You know, I have a Raspberry Pi here in my pocket. You're like, what is that? It's really like this little cheap computer. It's a board from your phone. If everyone knew how to use this, we could have sensors, and we have these tools. We can be connected with each other. We can be connected to solution makers. We can support each other. We can really make sure that the living planet as it is doesn't need to be destroyed. We can listen to our youth and get in there and solve stuff with what already is existing and share it.
Well, that sounds like the world I want to live in, so sign me up. Thank you, Megan, not only for the great work you're doing, but your continued enthusiasm. It's inspiring to us all. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for the teamwork.